Welcome to the Modestly Magnificent podcast, the website for dreamers who take action. On this podcast, we interview people transitioning into new careers in the tech field. We learn about how they prepare their life for the transition, what courses they may take, how they stay motivated when faced with adversity, and the job searching process. Join me, your host, Tamar Buchanan, as we follow along on their journey. Welcome back to another episode of the Modestly Magnificent podcast. I'm your host, Tamara, and today we have another fellow from the Data Science for All Empowerment Program. So we're going to jump right into it and let's meet Sandra. Hey, Sandra, how are you?
Hey, everyone. My name is Sandra, and I'm doing well. How are you, Tamara?
I'm great. I'm ready to have the world learn your story. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm from the Bronx, New York, and that's where I am currently. I initially started out, I'm like trying to think how far back do I go, but I'll start
Take
with
us way
college,
back.
I guess.
Yeah.
all the way back. So in college, I majored in psychology. And so I think that is where I initially imagined my career path going. I had this idea. I was like, okay, I'm going to become a clinical psychologist. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to have I'm going to get a private practice and also do some community work. That was my initial goal.
Okay.
And actually, up until recently, that had been my goal up until the pandemic last year. And so through all that, it's they don't tell you this in school, but trying to get some opportunities without experience in the field that you're interested in, depending on which field it is difficult. So I had trouble getting my foot in the door in that arena. And so, I worked at an acupuncture clinic, but my most recent job was at a nonprofit organization. And so that is sort of where the wheels got turning. I started to think about tech a little bit more in that, during that process, sorry, am I getting ahead of myself?
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to jump ahead okay. My most recent job was at a nonprofit organization. And I was working quite a bit. At one point, it felt like I had 3 jobs at once.
Wow.
But it was about that time that I started to think about tech, and I had thoughts of it, you hear about the tech industry, things are changing, it pretty much rules our society nowadays. And so I had been interested in it, and have actually had friends who have transitioned into the tech industry, but in non-technical roles. And so they've been whispering in my ear about transitioning into tech as well. And so, long story less long. Last year, I thought I applied to social work master's programs because, I was working with a bunch of social workers at the time. And so I was like, all right, if I get into a master's program in social work, I'll then be able to go get a PhD in clinical psychology. And that's how this is all going to work out. And then I was like, this is not the best financial situation. Yeah. I'm going to end up in a lot of debt.
Right.
And unfortunately, the return on investment for social workers is not great.
Not there.
Yeah. So I applied to boot camps, did a boot camp, and then, here I am a couple months. I skipped a couple months, but here I am.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What year did you graduate? Undergrad?
2016.
2016.
So
okay.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
2016, yeah.
And the nonprofit that you worked at, were you like wearing many hats, like, which is why you were so busy? They had you doing a little of everything.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I started out in like an assistant role.
Okay.
That was my first role there, and that was like at the headquarters, but I was pretty much an assistant under two different supervisors. So one was a data person, and the other was like the innovations team. And so that was my first job. But I did want something else. And so when I saw that they were opening, they had another opening within the organization, but in a different department. I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not go for it? And I knew the person who was hiring. I had worked with her tangentially and like had passings. We passed by each other in other arenas, like while I was in the assistant position. And so, and that was actually for a data role, but I pretty much got hired for that position because she was like, all right, I know you have a good work ethic, and I know that like you work hard and like you know some Excel. So that was that was the basis for me getting for me getting that role. And so yeah, when I was in that data position, that is when I at times was wearing several hats. Although it was a data role, and you know, the position itself was supposed to just be someone sitting behind a computer, like doing ad hoc reporting. But I did end up like going out into the field, meeting clients, and like doing more of the you know, care coordinator type work as well. And it was not strictly me sitting behind a computer. So yes, I was wearing a couple of different hats at the time. Yeah.
Were you using other programs other than Excel?
It was mostly Excel. But they had also their like own healthcare databases where all, you know, client information and was. And so I became accustomed to using those, but yeah, I wasn't like doing any type of coding or anything like what we're doing.
Not like now, right?
Yeah, not like now, not like that. No, it was more like pulling information and like doing some more like quality assurance or more than anything else. Yeah.
Okay. So our fellowship is a data science. It's a boot camp. They don't like us to use that word, but
I know. Yeah.
So it's 13 weeks, or well, did you do the Python training beforehand, the 1 month?
So I did it. I didn't have to.
Okay.
Because I did do a boot camp. I started at a data science boot camp in October and graduated in February. And so that's where I learned Python. And so yeah, when applying for this, I guess I did okay during that part of the application process. So I didn't have to, but I did it anyway.
But you did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you finished that in February and started our program in March.
Yes.
That's insane. That's really cool though. So what got you interested in data science?
So it was it probably happened about the time that I started at the most recent job that I had at the nonprofit organization. When I was in that data role, I was like, okay, like I knew that some of the questions that I was being asked and some of the problems that I had to solve, I knew I didn't quite have the tools there to solve them. And I knew, I was like, okay, there's a piece missing here. And like, there are ways to make, you know, this, even the ad hoc reporting I was doing, I was like, there are ways to make this better. And if only I knew how to do it. so then I really just started branching out on my own. I was like, all right, like, how can I get better at this? And initially it was just like, okay, I'm using Excel. Let me figure out how to get better at Excel. So I took some online Excel courses at the time. Okay. And I think I just went down a rabbit hole. I was like, all right, like, how can I do this, but on a bigger scale? I saw like that there were different data titles. I was like, all right, there's data engineering, there's, data scientists, there's data analysts. And I might have even taken a quiz, like how, like, how do you know you want to become a data scientist or something? one of those types of quizzes.
Yeah.
And I saw that they were like, okay, if you enjoy problem solving, like this might be for you. If so, and I'm like, I do enjoy problem solving. I like, this is something that I enjoy doing, like solving puzzles. Like I'm like really into like those logic types of puzzles and things like that. And so it seemed like a fit. Okay. And then the next question was, okay, now how do I do it? And so that's where me looking into boot camps came about. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about your boot camp experience?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. I went to the Flatiron school. Cool. Yeah. I did their data science immersive boot camp.
Okay. Is that full time?
It was full time. Yes. Okay. It was, I think it was also for 15 weeks, maybe.
Okay. It
was either 13 or 15, one of those, between 13 and 15 weeks, full time. And yeah, it was intense. It's like you're learning everything super quickly, like getting a very quick and fast course. It's like squeezing in something that people take like years to learn within a couple of weeks. And so, excuse me. So it was very quick. It was intense, but I did really enjoy it. Looking back on it, I'm like, oh, that was really helpful. But at the time, it was very, very stressful.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things though to come out of it was my cohort mates. Like we still talk, like we still hang out. I've actually gotten to see some of them in person since our entire course was, over Zoom, like, how most things are these days. But yeah, so we learned Python programming, or we learned Python, we learned statistics, machine learning. We learned like bits and pieces of everything. They taught us enough to give us like a basis, a good foundation. So
okay.
Yeah.
And were you still at your nonprofit job while you were in that program?
No. There was no way. there was no way that I was going to be able to do both. I do know of someone who actually ended up being in my cohort. He was working, like, he started out working his full-time job while working through the program, and he realized also that was not going to work. So then, he also had to choose the program. But yeah, no, I stopped working at the end of September, and then the program started the next month. And so yeah, it was funny because that the last position that I had at the nonprofit organization was a contracted position. Okay. So it was set to end. It was going to just be 1 year, right? So then it was set to end last June.
Okay.
At the end of the fiscal year, it was set to end last June. Then it got extended until September. So, and my initial thinking when I was still in the, psychology mindset, I was like, all right, this is perfect. It's going to end in June. I'll get into some grad program. I have the summer to figure, like, get that together. And then in the fall, I'll start going to grad school.